At dinner, Dad asked if my allowance was enough. When I said, "What allowance?" his face went white. I'm 17, and last Thursday we had one of those rare family dinners where everyone was actually home. My older sister Vanessa, 22, was visiting from college. Mom made lasagna. Dad was in one of his good moods, asking about school and grades. Then, halfway through dinner, Dad turned to me with this casual smile. "So Kyle, is your allowance enough? Need me to bump it up a bit?" I looked up from my plate, confused. "What allowance?" The room went dead silent. Dad's fork stopped midair. His face drained of color, going from tan to paper white in about 2 seconds. "Your monthly allowance," he said slowly, his voice tight. "The $400 I've been sending you since freshman year." My stomach dropped. $400 a month? Dad, I've never gotten any allowance. Vanessa's eyes went wide. She suddenly became very interested in her water glass. Mom looked between Dad and me, clearly lost. Dad stood up so fast his chair scraped loudly. "Vanessa, kitchen, now." What came out in the next 30 minutes destroyed everything. For 3 years, Dad had been Venmoing $400 monthly to what he thought was my account, except Vanessa had set it up. She'd created a Venmo account in my name, using an old email I'd abandoned, and had been collecting my allowance for years. $14,400. That's how much she'd stolen. When Dad demanded to see her bank statements, Vanessa tried playing victim. "I was going to tell you. I needed it for college expenses." Dad pulled up her Instagram. Designer bags, weekend trips to Miami, bottle service at clubs. None of that looked like textbook money. "You stole from your brother for 3 years, Dad said, his voice shaking with fury. "While he worked part-time at a grocery store bagging groceries, you were living off money meant for him." That's when it clicked. All those times I'd asked Dad for help with school supplies or gas money, and he'd seemed annoyed, saying I should budget better. He thought I was blowing through $400 a month. Meanwhile, I was working 20 hours a week making minimum wage, scraping by while Vanessa lived like an influencer. I remembered last winter when I needed new work shoes because mine had holes. Dad had sighed and said, "What are you doing with your allowance?" I'd worn those holy shoes for another month until I could afford new ones. Vanessa had been there that day. She'd said nothing. Mom tried to calm everyone down. "Let's talk about this rationally." But Dad wasn't having it. She committed fraud against her own brother. Vanessa started crying, claiming she was going to pay me back, that it was a mistake that spiraled out of control. "I was scared to tell you. It just kept going. You stopped it by spending my money," Dad said coldly. "Every time you bought another purse or booked another trip, you had 3 years of chances to stop." He told her she had 48 hours to move out of the apartment he was paying for, canceled her credit card on the spot, cut her off completely. I just sat there, my lasagna cold, trying to process everything. My sister had looked me in the eye for 3 years. We'd had conversations about money. She'd complained about being broke, and I'd felt bad for her. I'd bought her coffee with my grocery store money. She'd stolen from me, and then let me give her more. The next day, Vanessa showed up at the house with suitcases and red eyes. She'd already called aunts, uncles, grandparents, spinning some story about Dad overreacting to a misunderstanding. But Dad had sent everyone the Venmo receipts and her bank statements showing exactly what she'd spent my money on. No one was buying her victim act. But here's the craziest part. Dad offered to pay for my first year of community college, all expenses covered, as an apology for not being there when I needed him. Then he sat me down and handed me a check for $16,700, $14,400 for what she took, plus the rest for what he called interest and suffering. Vanessa tried reaching out through mutual friends, saying she'd hit rock bottom, that I should forgive her because we're family, but you don't steal for 3 years and call it a mistake.